All right, apologies for cutting out of that. We take you right back to Soweto. Do you understand that the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is addressing residents there and the media? Let's go there live now.
A seeming resistance by a number of community members to move to a prepaid type of platform. And I spent time dealing with the issue of moving to prepaid. And I think in my explanation I was able to get through to the people and convince them now that prepaid is better than paying on a contract basis and getting an invoice, because you're able to control your own consumption. I've been told them that I am on prepaid, and my wife is able to control our electricity consumption, and it has worked much better and much cheaper. And I think that's the message that I will be spending quite a lot of time spreading. And of course, many of our people argued that they are not able to pay because they don't work and so forth, and they want a flat rate. And we dealt with the issue of a flat rate, what it means, and they said they want 200 Rand, a flat rate. And I said, but what if the consumption is 1,000 Rand? Because if you don't have a prepaid meter, you won't even know what your consumption is. So we dealt with that, and it was good for me to spend time explaining all that in all the languages that are spoken, for instance, in the Chawelo area, in Chivenda and Sitsonga and Zulu and in Sesotho. So that message, I think, got through. But they also complained that some of them are paying, and when some don't pay, Eskom cuts all of them out. And I thought and I felt that is an injustice, because Eskom should be able to control their own workings and be able to know who's paying and who's not paying. But the community themselves also had an opportunity to also deal with the problem of illegal connections. We dealt with the issue of illegal connections and cable theft, and I could sense that this is something that makes them extremely unhappy, because they know that illegal connections cause an overload on the transformers and they blow up. And it often takes quite a bit of time for Eskom to restore the electricity. So whilst electricity is an overriding problem, we did give a positive message to our people. We dealt with the underlying issues about prepaid and not wishing to pay. And for those who don't work, we did say that the government has always sought to subsidize those who don't work, who are indigent, and they need to register with the mayor. Unfortunately, our executive mayor was there to confirm that there is assistance for those who can't pay. So on the whole, the matter of electricity was, I think, well dealt with. And of course, we dealt with it in the end by saying that we're going to ensure that Eskom does restore electricity. Some of the transformers have blown up, the substations have blown up. So those are the technical issues that Eskom has to deal with. And we are going to be working together with the minister to make sure that Eskom deals with it. For me, the underlying issue, though, it's a human rights issue. People are entitled to electricity to have a better life, because I just can't imagine how anyone can live in this day and age without electricity. Young people don't have electricity, their computers, their mobile phones, and a whole range of things. And of course, it touches on the health of people as well, because some of the people, correctly so, we say, some of our aged people and those who are sick rely on oxygen, and without oxygen, without electricity, you can't do that. So in all the three places we went to, the issue of electricity is prominent. Of course, the issue of jobs is another secondary one, and crime, and we were able to deal with all that. So all in all, I found a very good vibe in all the places we went to. Of course, people are angry and agitated over electricity, but we were able to engage without avoidance, without even running away, but to engage the issues up front. And I feel comfortable in the way that we engaged with them. And of course, we said we would be back, and I'm going to follow up the electricity issue because it's a concerning issue, and the technicalities need to be solved, and the organization of distribution of electricity also needs to be addressed. So it was a wonderful day, and of course, the other thing I need to deal with is that I did find that many of our people are wearing masks. I even asked in one of, a larger, group of people who had thronged to the area, which was unavoidable because these are people who were not really pre-arranged for a meeting, who just came, and it was difficult to have to deal with a situation like that. But the pleasing thing was that many of them, the majority of them, were wearing masks. And I even asked those who were wearing masks to raise their hands. They did. And only a few were not wearing masks. And I passed on the message about wearing masks when they go to places like those, as well as the vaccination story. I did pass on the message that we need to get vaccinated and the benefits of getting vaccinated. So I'm sorry that many of you had to be caught up in the crowds, but this is what happens when there's an election campaign. And I think as the next few days unfold, we will need to find maybe better protocols of how to navigate our way around situations like that, because that's where we will also need your help, maybe even your own suggestions of how we should handle it, because I think we are going to find this to be the case throughout the country. People will want to throng, and we are not going to pre-arrange large meetings, but people will come, and we need to pay attention to that. So thank you very much. I thought we had a wonderful day, and I hope you too have had something to eat, and you've been fed and given something to drink, like water. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, President.
Thank you.
We'll just open for just one round of questions, President, if that's okay. It won't be much.
You've heard everything.
Yeah.
No, not everything.
Okay. Well, this is how we're going to work. We'll just deal with campaign-related questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much, President. It's Govin Whittles from ENCA. Many questions, many South Africans are asking themselves this question now: why should South Africans vote for the ANC when the party's infighting seems to be destabilizing the country, as it did in July?
Well, the ANC is a very large organization, and it has a number of members and leaders, and we are able to find one another where we have differences, and we have been dealing with some of the challenges like any party goes through, and I think we've found and we are finding an equilibrium, and a wonderful equilibrium of being able to forge unity and purpose, and we're going to chisel it into better shape now during the election campaign, and it is going to enable us as we move on to find that it's a lot better to work together in harmony and proper coordination than to be at each other's throats, because our people want a united ANC. This has been found to be the case in many surveys, that they are attracted much more to a united ANC than to a divided ANC. And we are expressing this. We just held a wonderful NEC, dealing of course with a number of challenges, such as the way the technical problems and organizational problems we experienced with the registration of our candidates. And we were all ad idem, all at one, in dealing with those problems. And for me, it was a breath of great strength that we are emerging from the negativity of the past, and we are now moving forward united. And the election is going to unify us and consolidate us even more. So the ANC has always been thought of as disunited and it's about to collapse and all that. It's not going to happen. And certainly it's not going to happen in my hands. The ANC will remain united.
Does the party have money for an election campaign right now?
I think like many other parties, this new era that we have voluntarily, all of us, and it was initially initiated by the ANC, that we voluntarily agreed that we need to be more transparent with the funding, has presented a number of challenges to all of us as parties, but we are finding that we now have to cut our coats in accordance with the cloth we have, and we are having to make do with limited resources, and that is why we've also resorted to our members, that our members must also reach out into their pockets and fund their organization. And I'm a great enthusiast of that an organization that's worth its salt really needs to be funded by its members, because then they take full ownership. And that's why we are calling on our members and supporters that they should respond positively to the crowdfunding initiative that we have come up with, that those who want to fund the ANC should do so. And it's beginning to pick up momentum, and we will be talking more and more about members and supporters funding the African National Congress.
Mr. President, Samkele here from the SABC. The Constitutional Court has just sent out a notice that this judgment that we've been waiting for 3 o'clock will no longer be issued now. It will either be later on in the evening or in the early hours of the morning. I see you moving back there. Are you are you at pains, or are you itching to know this particular judgment, knowing that you may be effectively out of government in some municipalities in the country?
No, I'm very relaxed. I think we put forward, as I said to you earlier, a very good and cogent case on this matter, and the legal arguments we put forward are good and sound. And of course, it is up to the Constitutional Court to issue their own judgment, and we will respect whatever judgment the Constitutional Court comes up with. They are the apex court in our country, and which all of us signed on our contract with each other, that what the Constitutional Court concludes should be respected and accepted. So that is what we are going to do. Am I going to have sleepless nights? And of course, I mean, if it goes the other way and we are not able to field our candidates in a number of municipalities, that is a great concern to us. But we are going to put our best foot forward in all the other municipalities where we are going to have our candidates. But all in all, Samkele, we are going to field our candidates all over, and the ANC will run a good election campaign, and we will win the elections.
Have you spoken to your predecessor since he was hospitalized at a private hospital near your office at the Union Buildings?
No, Samkele. If these are things that I would not really discuss with you publicly. Yeah.
I can have tea with you.
You can have tea with me?
Mr.
Welcome to have tea with me.
You are taking away the time of other journalists who are trying to build careers in newsrooms. Yes.
Sorry, I'm already in the newsroom. Thank you. Cyril Ramaphosa from Newsroom Africa. There were a lot of complaints from residents, Mr. President, around the issue of you actually being in this area because it is voter registration weekend. Some of them have said that you wouldn't have come if it wasn't for voter registration weekend. What's your response to that?
Well, I actually did preempt that question, and I said to them, don't see me being here as though I've come here to mobilize for you to come and vote. And in fact, my main theme and my main message had very little to do with the voting and the registration. It was more to deal with their problems.
Yeah.
I did not even have a pamphlet in my hand to try and canvass people to go and vote. And if I did mention it, it was just a passing away sentence. So the main issue was to address the, and I told nearly all the meetings where I was that don't think that I am here because we're going for elections. I am here because I am concerned about the situation of your electricity disconnect. And this is what I want us to address. So for me, that was the upfront issue that we need to address. And fortunately, I had the Premier and I had our Executive Mayor. And that was the main message that we were passing on. We will still come back to these communities with a full blast campaigning message. So we ain't done yet. We're still going to come back.
Mr. President, you've arrived as President of the country on the anti-corruption ticket of renewal, known as a corruption fighter. And this week, a survey by Afrobarometer found that 64% of the population believes corruption has gotten worse since you've taken over as President. I wonder what you think of that.
Well, I don't know what the two how the two have any relationship, because what they have not mentioned is the efforts that we have made to strengthen corruption-fighting institutions that were almost in tatters, that were so weakened and debilitated from doing their work. Many of people in our country did not know that we have an institution like the SIU, and the SIU is busy. It is working. And they are unraveling corruption and dealing with it and recovering money. And that report does not deal with things like that. The NPA is busy. And what we have done, what I have done, is to free those institutions to do their work. Because the work must not be done by the president. If the president ever had to do that work, then you must all run for the hills. Because it is not the president's task. The president's task is to facilitate the creation of a situation where the institution we have set up in our constitution, in our legislation, are able to do their work. And of course, sometimes before the sun rises, it gets very dark. Before the sun comes through, it gets very dark, and at times you will find that these things are being revealed more and more, and largely because of the work that we are doing as well. And I think if one reads a highly respected analyst that I know, J.P. Landman, the analysis that he did, which is far better than even my own self-praise, if I ever got there, type of analysis, is so thorough, because he looks at everything that we have done, from SARS, the NPA, the SIU, and a whole range of others, and says there has been rebuilding and repair of these institutions. So on that score, I'm confident that we are getting better and well positioned to be able to deal with corruption, not only petty corruption, but hardcore corruption. And I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity of making me stand in the sun.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We'll just remain with you for some few minutes. The head of elections will just give you an assessment of the
That was the president of the ANC, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and coming now is the head of the ANC's election, also Minister Fikile Mbalula. Minister Mbalula, thank you so much for also availing yourself for this interview with us. The big question here is whether the ANC is on track to get 50% plus one in Johannesburg, and I suppose we could talk about Gauteng now, and Tshwane and Ekurhuleni. This is the economic hub of the country. 2016 it was a poor performance due to people staying away and not necessarily voting for other parties. But this time you seem way more confident. How are you feeling about Gauteng?
First, let me reflect on today. Today have started very well in most parts of the country, with glitches in some, which have been attended by IEC as the day goes along. Here in Soweto, where we are with the President, Some voting stations, communities used this day to raise their complaints and raise their demands, justifiably so, around issues of the electricity, which the president have actually addressed. But we have seen a big turnout in affluent areas, where we have seen in affluent areas, people coming out even with their children to vote. We are calling on South Africans that let us not miss this opportunity of registering to vote. It is an opportunity that comes once. As the ANC, as a government that is in power, is to be expected that communities use this period to raise whatever that they wish to raise that has bedeviled them over the years. Some of the people, as you will have heard today, they've not had electricity for 2 years, 3 years, and there's a whole lot of issues around electricity in Soweto, not only in Soweto and other areas. But these are the issues that local government have been dealing with. So it's no surprise when we go down to communities that people start raising their issues, because who else will they raise them with? Because we are the incumbent. And that they are raising their issues with us in order for us to attend to them. It is a campaign season, and our local representatives, some have done well, some have not been doing well in terms of keeping in touch with the people, and at the same time ensuring that even if there are difficulties, you don't mask them, you confront them, you engage with the people. Those are the public representatives that we actually want. But it's an election season, and we know the challenge that we face as the party. We are not yet at the point where we can say that we are confident of victory. We have just begun. We are going to work for it, and our goal is to get a decisive victory. We have seen what the coalitions have done, which is the choice of the people, but we are not intending to get into coalitions. But coalitions are a result of a democratic mandate that you get. It is not your choice. We are going all out, flat out, to talk to our people and to ask them to come out in their numbers and vote. But not only do that, also starting today to register. So we are happy with the start of the registration across the country with all the glitches. We still call upon all our people, those who have not registered, to take this opportunity to actually register. Yes.
Campaign for the day is almost done. What's in the offing for tomorrow?
We are continuing tomorrow, and we hope that the problems that we started with today in terms of technicalities on the side of the IEC will be resolved tomorrow. They will be resolved, and matters that have been highlighted in a big way at the beginning of the registration in Soweto and other areas here, electricity, it will propel us forward to basically resolve these matters, not only with speed, but to find a permanent solution. The electricity crisis in Soweto has been a big thing for many years. And the president have explained that, even in the meetings that we've had. Now we are going to Thokoza Park, which is our last destination. But we are going to come back to Soweto, and with the result in terms of how those issues have actually been resolved. So the campaign has begun, and tomorrow we look into a successful day in terms of registration. Like I said, in the affluent areas, we have seen numbers going up, and we will want to encourage our people not to miss this opportunity of registering today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, but maybe another point that the head of elections had highlighted previously is that all members of the National Executive Committee are deployed throughout the country in almost all municipal areas. National officials, the national chair is today in Bujanala. The Treasurer General will be here in Johannesburg tomorrow at Zone 14. The President will be in Mpumalanga. It's going to be ongoing. The head of elections is also working on a program that will see the President visit all the metros and big cities during and beyond our own manifesto launch. So there's going to be quite a lot. He is expected, as the head of elections on Tuesday, to launch our digital platforms, just to give you a feel of how the ANC is going to be running the elections campaign. Let's go to Thokoza Park. if there are issues that we might need to clarify on the sidelines, we'll do so.
Thank you very much. That was the ANC leaders, Fikile Mbalula, and also the ANC president speaking on the election campaign that has taken place throughout the course of the day today, and also speaking on the issues relating to the now postponed judgment that is expected from the Constitutional Court on the registration of candidates which the ANC had missed, and also saying that they will be addressing the issues of electricity which has been raised by the people of Nomzamo Informal Settlement and Shawelo, where the president grew up in Soweto, and also the issues plaguing the governing party of factionalism and people saying that they would rather stay away from voting because the ANC is simply failing to provide them with the necessary infrastructure that they need and services for their communities, and especially looking at the virtue that people from Nomzamo have been without electricity for almost 2.5 years.